Stories like that come up often. You might, in fact, my aunt, who I mentioned before, had a story, and I think I have told this one at Hawthorne Ridge. Can everyone hear me, by the way? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they okay. Hold on to that. Boo. Yeah. But she used to tell a story about how when she was a little girl, and in her family, everybody loved homemade fudge. And her father worked on the railroad. He was with the New York Central Railroad. He was an engineer, and so he'd often be gone on night runs. And the mother, my grandmother, would be going out to mothers' clubs at church or the PTA or what have you. And the kids would be by themselves. And as soon as they were by themselves, my uncle, my mother, and my Aunt Dot would make fudge. As soon as she was out, they'd get all the ingredients down to make fudge, even though she told them every single time, do not make fudge, because they would never make it right. You know how it has to boil for a certain number of minutes, and you have to put in the chocolate then, and well, sometimes it would come out as hard as a brick, and other times it would be as soft as a running liquid, you know. They couldn't get it right, and so she didn't want them to do it without her there. So she left the house this one night. She said, now don't make fudge. And they said, okay, we won't. And then as soon as she was out, my mother and my uncle got down the ingredients, and my aunt, who was the youngest, was left to guard the door in case their mom came back. And so they made up the fudge, and they boiled for the right number of minutes. They felt sure it was going to be great this time, and they had to pour in the chocolate and stir it. And she came home early, because there was no Mother's Club meeting that night. She just stayed to chit-chat with the other ladies. And she came home early, and they had the fudge, and it was hot, and it was in the pot. And my uncle panicked, and he ran out to the back porch as though she couldn't smell the fudge cooking. And he took it over to the back porch. He couldn't think what to do. He was so panicked, and he dumped it all over the back side of the porch. All of the chocolate and everything, the butter and the sugar, the melted sugar. And it all clung to the hollyhocks and the lilacs and ferns and tulips and all the other flowers that were out there. And she was not a happy camper, my grandmother, their mother, and she sent them all off to bed early. Well, the next morning at dawn, my grandfather came home because he got off of his railroad run. And my Aunt Dot, the young kid, she was the only one to hear his car come. And so she opened the back window, and she saw him down there in the yard. And he had his lunch pail and his overalls underneath one arm. And then with the other, he was picking the leaves of the hollyhock and lilac, and scraping the chocolate fudge off. Oh, when he saw her, put his finger to his lips and said, I don't know how this got here. Come on down, help me finish it before the bees start buzzing around here, and the flies, and everybody else getting at it. And so my aunt tiptoed down in her bare feet, and there the two of them were eating chocolate off the hollyhocks and the lilacs and the ferns and the tulips. And it was one of her favorite memories of all time. And that's the story about her and how she made fudge.